The book Supercommunicators say that we communicate for 3 different purposes. One is for information, one is for identity, one is for emotion. So the words might be very similar in what's being said, but the purpose behind the communication are very different. And I just had a great example of an identity communication. And somebody else was trying to have an informational communication, and it really rubbed me the wrong way. And it's not their fault. It's just my expectation of what was going on. So I recently applied to become an AKC Scent Work judge. I proactively, because at one other point at a seminar, I was told it was very hard to verify all the different information. So I tried to make it easier by including some printouts that would make the verification easier for them. And the response was, for future reference, we don't need those. We have access to these records. Well, I realize you do, but now they're right in front of you in printed form, right? So my identity of somebody who is proactive and tries to think ahead and make things easier and more efficient for somebody, that's a conversation I'm having. And I'm miffed that that wasn't acknowledged in that. Not at all. And I even included a cover letter explaining why I did that, and that wasn't acknowledged. So that was an identity conversation while this poor person's just trying to do an information exchange. They're just trying to get the information they need to process my application. The other identity conversation that was going on was, there were a couple of problems with my application, I was told. And one of those problems is just kind of lack of information on their website clarifying certain things. And again, my cover letter clarified this, said I am unsure if this is okay. The other instance where there was a conversation going on where it was information on their part and identity on my part is I really pride myself in being meticulous, reading instructions, reading directions, understanding regulations, and being meticulous, being precise. And I submit my application and they're like, you can't do this, you couldn't do that, we can't accept this. And it all comes down to like none of that information was publicly available. So I get really frustrated because again, from an identity standpoint, it's like I take that response as an insult on my identity because they're having an informational conversation, just simply trying to tell me that I can't do this, and I'm having an identity conversation, I'm taking it personally. So that I thought was a great example of how communicating for different purposes, when people have different expectations of what's going on in the conversation, they have these different reasons for communicating at a particular point, can really get you into some conflict. And for me, it leads to some very triggering sort of things. So lesson learned there, I think, and you can't always do this, right? But I think the lesson learned is if you are savvy enough to understand and see that there are different conversations going on for different reasons, you can acknowledge that in the conversation. Like just even a simple acknowledgement of, thank you for being proactive. That's really cool. We don't need them. We have access to that, so do appreciate it. Or I understand that there's not information readily available, but this is the case. Like that would have made me feel much better. That would have disarmed me quite a bit, just me personally. I don't know. Do I expect that they would have to do that because it is my issue? No, not necessarily. But I guess going along with the premise, if you're a super communicator, those are the kinds of things you do because they're good communication and they help build, maintain, and preserve relationships. There you go. There's my Drive Home Diatribe. I just came up with that name. Gotta love alliteration.